I just got called a she/they on the internet. It's been a good day. They're just jealous of the hair, that's all. Welcome back to Not Another Podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the last few weeks because a lot of things have really happened since the last episode. It's been a little while, and it's only because I was either in my car or asleep during the other times that I was supposed to be recording this episode, for reasons that I will get into here on this episode. The last few episodes I talked about running ads and how that experience was going, and now we're going to talk about how it went afterwards. So let's dive right in. I've got my notes here that's going to help keep me on track. A few insane weeks. Let's dive in. That's literally what I wrote at the top of this thing. Let's dive in. The Nashville trip is super interesting because it wasn't as big of a success as I had originally anticipated. I expected there to be significantly more and significantly larger orders. So I expected there to be more money rolling in from more people faster. And that is not what actually ended up happening. Now, I still made money, and I'll talk about how in a second. But what was interesting was all of the order quantities that I had expected or anticipated were about half or 2/3 of what I had originally expected instead of the full amounts that I had anticipated. And the buying cycles were way longer than I expected. So people would get their content next day and be like, whoa, this is amazing. And I had maybe 2 people buy that day or the next day, but everybody else has been waiting over a week, if not more. There are some people who still haven't decided what content they want to buy and how much of it they're going to get. So super interesting situation there, which I was like, man, I gave you the content next day. Why aren't you guys buying? Well, I don't know the answer to that, but at the end of the day, it's just a learning experience. I can't force people to buy faster. I just have to make a better deal in the end and see what's going on there. But diving into more of these bullet points, I anticipated about $450 per order on average. Based on the most I had ever been paid and based on the least I had ever been paid, I expected about $450 per order. And what I'm discovering is that most people are buying between $200 and $300 worth of stuff, which is not exactly what I anticipated, and it's not as good either. But that means that there's an opportunity to play around with upsells as well, get more people to spend more by getting a better deal. That's like the idea that I'm going with for. But we did break even on this trip. If I were to open up my Venmo right now, I spent $350 in ads being out there, and I spent probably $60 a day in stuff, in activities and whatever. I was out there for like 8 days, so 500, 600, 700, 800. So let's just round it off and call it $1,000 trip. I have made more than $1,000, which is fun. So if I were to go into my Venmo account history here, let's see, $120, $200, $500, $100, $200, let's see here, $250 and $240. So we have 500 there, or 490, 1,000, 1,100, 1,300, 1,450. So we have $1,450 worth of orders that have come through for the most part. Or just over that, actually, 1,500. So we did okay, right? But considering the time that I spent out there, ideally as a videographer, I would love to be able to make anywhere from $900 to $1,500 a day, somewhere in there. As a person operating a camera, that is what I would like to be making. So if we're considering that, definitely not making money. However, if I'm willing to take a lower day rate and do it more, I am technically still making money. But on this trip, I wasn't, and if I counted up all the technical profit that I made after my expenses and stuff, $500, $600, maybe $700 after everything is said and done, that means I made about less than $100 a day, which doesn't necessarily check out, for lack of a better term, but we built a great foundation to get more artists next time. I got some referrals, so I'm going to be able to run, or I got some testimonials, so I'm going to be able to run ads with those testimonials. It's going to be really, really great. I actually sent off a text and asked people to send me a video testimonial. One guy did. It was wonderful. It warmed my heart to see. I was so happy. But now the actual trip, the days were insane, fucked up kind of insane, like just wild. Sometimes I had 4 sessions a day, sometimes I had 6 sessions in a day, and then some days I didn't have any sessions, but I spent the whole day editing and getting stuff out. I also had some other client projects that I was working on, so I was multitasking. I was not only editing the client stuff, like the artist stuff, but I was also working on other client projects while I was there, keeping my other artists and clients happy, which was a lot at that time. And to top it all off, I was sleeping in my car. Another video is coming on that later. I didn't have a place to stay, so I actually saved money by not spending money on an Airbnb, so I didn't have to, if I had spent money on an Airbnb, I would not have made money this trip. No shot, would have been down in the dumps, down bad. But basically never stopped working while I was there. Now the funny part is that after the trip, I went to my family's house and I was there for 2 days, 48 hours, and I slept for 21 of those because my body absolutely collapsed. It was quite intense. Now, here's some things that I think I'm going to do in the future to refine the offer, and then I'm going to go back at the end of March, early April, and we're going to test this out to see if my theories are true. So here's some of the things that I think I'm going to try to do in my offers. If the person's only going to order $300 worth of stuff max anyway, because it was like $120, $240, $250, $300, maybe a $400 or $500 order, but most of them were $200 to $250 or $300. I might as well discount like a bulk package because most of them also were getting about half their content. So for that, $200 to $300 range, they were getting 6 or 7 different clips, 6 or 7 different clips. Yeah, that's right. And there were often like 10 to 15 available. Now, there was one person where there were literally only 8 clips after everything was said and done because that one was a little bit more in-depth and intense. But that said, most of them were 10 to 15 clips. So what could I do to make all of those people worth significantly more by giving them a killer deal on the upside so they could scrounge to get maybe $450 to $500 or $600 together to then get all of their content where it would normally have cost them anywhere from $700, $800, $900 to do, if not more. How could I do that? So that's going to be the upsell. I'm going to try out a couple different things. The first one I think I'm going to try is a buy in 24 hours and get or commit to buying all of them in 24 hours, and you will get like a 30% discount or something on top of like what I usually do is a 15% off the top if they buy all of it, which I did a very poor job of communicating this time. What I discovered was people didn't actually know about that. I was going to do it, but I didn't tell anybody, which is stupid. So now I get to go back and tell people, hey, this is what we do. If you want all of them, you're going to get 15% off the top, but for the day only, if you buy all of them on the day that I send it to you, you are going to get a 30% discount or a 40%, something crazy that brings the cost down from $800 or $900 down to like $500. And if they can get all their content for $500 where they were already going to be spending $200 to $300 anyway, it's going to be a killer deal. And I would be interested to see what the conversions were if people were to buy more. So that's kind of my idea about that, and I think it'll work. But again, I haven't really tried it, and this is kind of my attempt to learn ads and upsells a little bit. So that's the idea. So all in all, huge learning experience. Now I'm also running a podcast offer, like ads for a podcast offer, and those leads are significantly more expensive, but the client worth or the customer worth, the customer value, I'm yawning, is significantly higher. So those people will pay me thousands of dollars a month, but of course it's costing me $50 to $60 per lead. And so far I've gotten like 8 or 10 leads and only one of them or 2 of them have actually been qualified. So that's an interesting game where it's like, okay, I spent $500 to get one person, but that person will end up paying me thousands of dollars in the long run, which makes sense, but the learning cycle is way longer and way more extended, which I don't love. So that's been interesting. I guess actually my lead cost has gone up a little bit since I wrote this down, but at the time that I wrote this down, it was $38 per lead that I was getting. But I'd be filming people's podcasts every single week, and we'll see if it plays out. But yeah, it's going to be super interesting. I have a ton of editing work that I've picked up, so it's just going to be laser focused over the next few weeks. And I picked up a job in Miami that I'm going to tomorrow. So this is really just going to be a super, super, super interesting few weeks where I'm just picking up cash like crazy. and paying, rent in advance so I don't have to think about it or worry about it. That I'm going to focus really hard on that. And then these artist trips, I'm going to focus really hard on making sure that I'm like printing cash, because that's what I got to do now. Is I'm going to raise the rate a little bit. $40 per clip is a little cheap, and I got people saying that I was cheap, and I didn't like that very much. So I'm going to up it probably like $59, like $60 or $65. We'll see what I actually end up going with. But and I added an edited video, because some people wanted their videos edited as well, and I didn't do a good job of differentiating edited versus like the clips that I was giving, because the clips I was giving were just color graded, trimmed front to back, music under it, send. Nothing special, no effects, no masking, no cuts, nothing. But people wanted some edited videos where they wanted different clips put together. They wanted some effects done. And some of them I just kind of did. And some I had to turn down because I was like, oh, that's a lot of work and I'm not charging for that. So I added a kind of a la carte thing on my site, or on the one pager that I'm going to send off to people. And that is going to be, I think, $125 for like an edited clip. And we're just going to see how this a la carte pricing works out for me, and see if people end up actually spending significantly more, or if that ends up just being a turnoff for people. I don't know. This is all a big learning experience. So that was the last 2 weeks. Man, there are so many things that are happening right now. Let me just look at the calendar and see, like, man, I only got back from Nashville a week ago. That feels like so much longer. Had some calls with some folks over at some agencies, and they want to hire me for some stuff coming up here pretty soon. That's pretty nice. And in contact with another founder that I've worked with before who wants to start another brand to compete with some big dogs, and they want us to do all their original marketing collateral, which will be a ton of fun. I'm really, really, really excited for that. I think that we could really crush and do some good stuff there. But man, that's really just the update. That's what's been going on in my world. That Nashville trip just took everything out of me. I really don't see anything else. Oh, we've had some crazy good success with Kings. We've been working with her a lot more and doing a lot of her videos. And I mean, over 35 million views in the last 90 days or 100 days or whatever. I mean, it's been so absurdly amazing. And I use that to I've got one other person I'm going to try to do that with. We're going to take his stuff. I'm going to see if I can replicate some version of that success with doing some of his videos, or at least consulting. And if we can, and I get two people in two very different genres of music having similar success with my consultation, I'm going to make that into a package offer and sell that as well. Because if I can consult some artists to get some big wins under their belt, I mean, it's game over at that point. I can pitch that to labels, and labels would pay for that instead of working with artists where they're struggling to pay for some of those things. And labels don't pay for content anyway. So that was the trip, man. That was a lot of stuff going on there. It's been 2 weeks since I've skipped 2 episodes. I was almost going to skip this one, and I was like, I have to get it done. So this week got a few jobs on the calendar, which I'm excited about. I got 2 weddings this weekend, very, very stoked on. And then next week got a few shoots. It's gonna be interesting these next couple weeks, and then we fly to San Francisco for a little bit afterwards, and it's gonna be absolutely crazy. So I'll see you guys next Monday. That was my check-in for the week. I appreciate you guys watching. If you did enjoy, leave a comment down below. Talk to me. I want to have a conversation with you. And if this update was cool with you, maybe share it with somebody who's also trying to run ads, and just let them see somebody else talking about their experience, and maybe help them feel a little bit less lost. And if there's anything that I can do to help with the little experience I do have, leave a comment down below. I will try to answer it the best I can. So I'll see you guys in another episode. That's it. I'll see you next week.